can see the number of events happening today. We have around 43 chapters in ISHRE, and we have today about 25 to 27 programs lined up concurrently from various chapters. All our webinars celebrating the World Refrigeration Day. So with this, now I would like to introduce the speaker of the day, Mr. Arun Kumar Bhatia. Mr. Arun Kumar Bhatia is from the TED Consulting Services. He is the founder and the technical head. He is an accomplished professional with 26 years in the industry with hands-on experience and fought for industrial refrigeration, commercial refrigeration, project management, skill upgradation training, energy audits, and process cooling solutions. He is the lead and handled various projects with end-to-end responsibilities. Member and follower of international associations, including ASHRAE, IAR, TMI from USA. He is a Bachelor of Technology from the Mechanical Engineering Department from University of Kerala, India. He has a Master's in Business Management from Delhi. Then he is design of refrigeration systems for peak performance and efficiency. He's got it from the University of Wisconsin-Madison, USA. He has attended skill upgradation training or workshops on sustainable solutions in global refrigeration industry from Ayakawa, Japan, GE Refrigeration Europe, and GE FES USA. Apart from above, more than 25 trainings and professional certifications from world-class brands, including Cuba, Germany, Godard, Netherlands, Bitzer, Germany, Thermowave, Germany, Guntner, Asia, Raffle, France, Fincoil, Finland, Danfoss, Denmark, Grasso, Netherlands, Guntner, Hungary, Helpman from Netherlands, AWP, Germany, Guntner, Germany, Teco, and amongst others. Probably has worked in almost all the well-known refrigeration organizations around the world. So I'd like to now welcome Mr. Anil Kumar Bhatia for the presentation.
Thank you, Anishji. That was a wonderful introduction. Thank you for coming here. And in case you have any other commitments, you're free to go whenever you want in between. But we'd love to have you till the end.
Thank you.
Arunji, can you please take over now?
Yeah, thank you. Let me start sharing screen first, yeah?
Yeah.
Is this visible?
Not yet, but it'll come, I think. Stop sharing and then share presentation. Your screen is visible, not the presentation hasn't opened up.
You have to share again with that particular.
Okay. Let me do it again because this is PowerPoint. Yes.
Perfect. We can see it.
Now it's visible?
Yes.
Yes.
So once you say yes, I will go ahead.
Yes.
Done? Okay, let me start my stopwatch also. Yes. So let us start. It is let me set a why I'm not able to get speaker view. Yeah, how can I have a speaker view only?
There is a where you see these many videos on the top you'll have a second show small active speaker video.
Okay.
A small done. Yeah.
Done. Now I'm. So let us first of all I would like to thank ISHRE Mumbai chapter and ISHRE refrigeration chair Anish Sema. Anish, the introduction you gave, I think I'm really on the cloud 9. You made me feel that I'm really a big personality, but I'm not that. I'm still learning. I have learned a lot from you, and in fact, a lot of members, those who are in presentation currently. So most important is disclaimer. I always say this is the most important. We must read and understand it. Now, next 1 hour, how we are going to place is talking about food and then importance of food in our cold chain ecosystem, and then the energy intensive industry, which is cold chain. Yeah, we are very energy intensive industry. That is the reason we talk about saving energy, right? And there is a plenty of scope. I will just share my experience and knowledge. It is not a rocket science. I have learned from the technicians. I have learned from my mentors. I have learned from plant operators. I have learned for professional like like you, and that's how I have reached to this presentation. So this is not an, so I will just try to present the idea of power saving in the industry in my own way, right? So at the end of the presentation, you can ask me your questions. If I am able to answer them, I'll be happy. Otherwise, any of the panelists or the participant is able to give feedback. That will be also a good learning for me. Yes. And then we try to conclude. Today's presentation is dedicated to all my mentors, right from the technicians, my gurus, my ustads. Yes. And on this important day, World Refrigeration Day, I really thank them because they are real warriors. Because cold chain people are real warriors. It is like soldiers on the border. We are also helping countries having sustainable food goals, right? We are helping them to have a food security. So let us see how we go further. So now food, when we say food itself is energy, right? If we go back history, if we search, if we dig around, then we find out that most of the civilization, they were focused on energy, and they were having most of their investment, or rather they were surviving on the basis of energy. And food was most important energy material, right? Of course, water was also there, but food is the basic need of human. So why we say is because whoever living thing in the world, we talk about humans, they need food. So food is our basic need. So if we don't have food, we can't even do anything. So it is, as a refrigeration engineer or as a cold chain designer, we have to think in a manner that as a engineer or as a designer, we are doing some great job because we are helping people to fulfill their basic needs, right? Even though we want to be a inspiration to somebody, even we would like to reach to in spiritual way, we say the to moksha, self-actualization stage. To reach there also, we should have our basic needs to be fulfilled. So we should understand that what importance we carry on our shoulders, that the responsibility of having a food security, the responsibility of having an effective cold chain, so everybody stays connected to the basic needs. Now how food industry or food chain ecosystem works, who will understand better than me? Being a grandson of a farmer, I remember when I used to go to my farms in Himachal. So I really used to see cattle grazing, and my grandpa was, plowing fields, and we were really very small farmers. So when it starts, so farmers are generating this food, and we as a refrigeration engineers or cold chain people, we trying to help that food reaching consumers in most appropriate manner with the least consumption of energy. That is what our target is, and that is what our vision should be. Now this was about food. So food, as I said, food itself is an energy. Like Many people recommend that you have to have this many calories and this much not. So even refrigeration is also about calories, kilocalories, watts, kilowatt, ton. So how cold chain ecosystem works? As per United Nations Food and Agriculture Organization, so they define cold chain like this: from harvesting to reaching food outlet or a consumer, we should try to protect this energy chain in a manner that we must have least carbon footprint. We should have most efficient operation and without compromising on the properties of the food. When I say without compromising of properties of the food, which means we cannot afford to compromise on the temperatures of the food, because those are the most important criteria to maintain hygiene of the food. So the temperature, movement and storage is the most important thing in cold chain. So if you start from the left hand side of the screen, there we have a farmer or a fish farming or normal land farming. It is farmed and then it moves to process factory or a packing factory, and then it reaches to a storage. So if you see on every step, if we maintain a respective or recommended temperature management, this will really help us to improve our food security, and this will really help us to reduce carbon footprint and make this environment better. Now, this was the data which was shared to me by a lot of magazines, blogs, that we can feed with current generation of food, we can feed even 1 billion more people for next 35 years. Yes, but still there are a lot of hungry stomachs there. Why? Because my belief is it is not only an inefficient food chain, it is inefficient cold chains. So this definition was really awesome, which I learned recently, and if this has been understood, then I think most of the points are clear. This was in one of the ASHRAE's blog or ASHRAE's profile. The cold chain is series of actions. So here we have to make a deep understanding of the statement, series of actions and equipments. So one, a technology company can manufacture a equipment, right? They can give you most efficient, energy efficient equipment. If we are not able to install it properly, then that equipment become no use. No use in a sense, we may end up consuming higher energy, or we may end up damaging that equipment at the end. We are not doing good for the environment. So the cold chain is the series of actions and equipments applied to maintain a product in a specified low temperature range from harvest or production to the consumption. So when we say actions are the our experience, our common sense, our best practices, which we have to apply along with the technology and equipment. So it is a balance of our knowledge, experience, and our best practices along with the equipment and the technology. So this we will see how it goes. So this I don't have to tell you, but still I wanted to refresh this. In basic refrigeration system, we have moving parts, electric consumers, and these consumers are consuming energy to give us a cold effect. So we call this a refrigeration system, where you can see there are moving parts which mainly are compressor and fans. So basic thing, if you say if our compressor and fans are efficient, then everything is efficient. So this is the statement which is good for the students, okay, those who are in college. So this statement is very valid in a point of view that we have to balance on these 2 points. But when we go into installation, when we go into establishing a cold chain, when we get into consulting, when we get into project sales, when we get into as an investor to invest money, so we have to look further deeper into the subject. It is not only the compressor and the fans where we can save energy. There are a lot of opportunities in cold chain and in a cold store or in a processing factory. We can save energy. So as I said, for students, it is fans which are in condenser with and in evaporator and motor in the compressor. So these are big opportunities to save energy. And of course, there are some lights which consume, I mean, minimum amount of energy. Now I always love this statement, food and energy, because we are so much connected with energy. Like it goes back to, I think, 7th or 8th class when we learned law of conservation of energy, that energy is neither created nor destroyed, but it changes its form, right? So basically we are in a circle where energy is moving around us, and we have to optimize the energy, because if energy become bad, then it is really bad for us. For example, if we are using energy in an inefficient way, so it will create more carbon. So carbon, environment with the carbon, it's not a good for human, human living conditions. So it is a circle where humans, food and energy, they are connected. As I said in the beginning, food is energy and energy is a food. So it looks very strange, or for me it's a very cliche statement, but I like to understand this this way, because I feel the connectivity of food, energy and humans are very basic. So as I said, food is energy. So this was the guidelines from American food blogger or dietary guidelines. So they say that average woman and average men, they need 1600 to 3000 calories for a day, which they consume in terms of protein, carbs, fat, vitamins, minerals and water, right? And I'll tell you, when you finish this presentation, you will understand how much we are responsible to provide these dietary requirements to the consumers. Yes, we are most important people transferring these dietary requirements to the consumers. So now if you see, when we explore the cold chain, and we have to understand where we are spending most energy. So there are two places. Like if you see, when agriculture is grown up, we have sunlight, we have water, which is also energy. Yes. Then we have a food processing factories. Of course, food processing factory without refrigeration, it's not possible. 80% of the food processing factories have a refrigeration system, right? When I say refrigeration system, I try to exclude air conditioning for offices. That is not including food processing in a way that we are creating juices. We are trying to, maybe doing some canning of the food. Maybe we are freeze drying. Maybe we are, anyway, we are freezing with the help of cold chain. Then third, if we move third, then we have electrical energy, most of the packing industry. Then when we go to storage, for example, cold stores, distribution centers, they consume a lot of energy. And then when you transport this cold chain, you consume a lot of energy in terms of diesel. And finally, at the end, again, when it comes to household, and when it comes to restaurants, or when it comes to any big hotels, there also we are consuming electrical energy. But it is my own belief that there are ample opportunity to save energy in two places, where food is processed and where food is stored. That does not mean, having said that, I'm not denying that we cannot save energy on other places, but being an expert on cold chain and refrigeration cold storages, I see a lot of opportunities of energy savings in these two places. Let's see how. So this is just some statements which says, and which is really alarming for us. We, in fact, up to 26% of world energy is used in cold chain, directly, indirectly. I believe the number should be even higher, but this is the data I had from one of the United Nations website. So this I have given you. Now, refrigeration system, for example, a cold store, a third-party logistic room with the bigger warehouses with the free frozen and cold chambers, we have 90% of the energy used in a refrigeration equipments. So I mean that is, if you go further in the points, food and beverages, they use a huge amount of energy in their operations, and that is the reason we all believe, and I say that our industry is most energy intensive industry. And when we say energy intensive industry, still we are in developing country. We don't have any greenhouse goals. If India has, then probably I'm not aware about it. Yes. And I think many companies I know in India, they have their own personal greenhouse gases goals. They want to reach to a lowest carbon footprint. I have seen in many companies agenda, and even many contractors in refrigeration industry, they maintain these standards. So this is, but don't worry, this is for the students, those who are in college. I'm just trying to tell you, after 5 or 10 years, you will also go as a specialist, and you will go as a target that my cold store design and my cold chain and my food processing factory, which I am involved with as a stakeholder. Stakeholder, when I say, you can be a technician, you can be engineer, you can be an investor, you can be a panel supplier, you can be a door supplier, or you can be a service provider. So as a stakeholder, when you as a student will get into industry after 5 or 10 years, this will be the most important factor, that in a design they will ask you what is the energy saving you are going to get. So this is the data from our word in data. So 6% of global greenhouse gases emission come from food losses and waste. Now this food losses and waste, this is not only happens because of refrigeration, this is also happens with the practices we follow. Not practices we follow as a cold storage owners or a cold storage technicians or a service provider, because we are not aware about it, or sometimes we are aware about it, but we are not able to diagnose those things because there is nobody is telling us to do it. Yes, we only raise our ears when we hear that we are losing in our cold store operation. Then we start looking and digging on the things and trying to make this more energy efficient. Now this, if you see the bottom of, you see the vegetarian foods. So here I'm not trying to tell that you should turn vegetarian, because one United Nations definition of food security is you have a choice to choose your food. It can either be vegetarian, non-vegetarian, or vegan food. Yes, you can choose any food. But why I'm trying to share this, because you as a student or you as a stakeholder, you can understand that how much greenhouse gases are generated with the certain type of foods. So when we know, then we can avoid those things. So this is also per kg. For example, if you see the nuts, they produce 0.07 kg of greenhouse gases, and banana, if you go on the top, it says 1.43. And then we go on the top, prawns, which we are farming in South India. I think I have, so it is doing around 26.09 kg of CO2. This data is explanatory that what CO2 generation we are doing. Now comes to another milestone. We have cold chain. Now how we can save the energy? I think if we go and look into it, we can think compressor, condensers, whatever moving parts we have, we can save energy, right? But it is little bit more we have to think and little bit more we have to do. Let's see. Let us try to understand how we can save energy in running plant or a new plant which we are planning. So first, as a stakeholder, we should have a roadmap of energy. What we want to do, what is our target, how much energy we want to save, and we should not go and like that cold store is doing this much energy, this cold store is doing this much energy, because every cold store can be designed in a different manner. That is the reason you have a different components, different expert, different vendors, and of course, as an investor, you have to be smart that what is your roadmap is. So your target should always be optimum energy efficiency, because energy is the most important resource. And we live with the energy. If we don't have good energy around us, we cannot survive. And this I have already talked, like our industry is energy intensive industry, correct? Now if you see energy, how we can save energy, first step is when we are planning a project. If you see top, there is a project planning stage. So when we are planning a project, so we should understand what we are going to do, what components we are going to use, and how those components can save our energy. We have to have a detailed analysis or a project report. For example, X component versus Y component, what is the investment and what is the return or a payback period for 1 to 2 years. Now, why I'm saying this? Because I have seen some investors. I have worked with some investors in India. Why I'm using India? Because this is for ISRE. So it is nothing particular to a country, but I'm saying a particular investor. So that does not mean India, in Indian subcontinent or India, there are not good or smart investors. Okay, so don't take me wrong. So I met an investor and I told him that if you go with this component, you can save around 16% energy, but you have to pay 15% extra. So he said, no, I don't want to pay this because, I don't have a budget. I tried to explain him that this 15% extra, which is hardly a 1% cost of the project, and the payback period will be 1 year maximum. But still, the investor had no knowledge. Okay, maybe he was influenced by bankers and interest rates, and their engineers were not able to influence him. Rather, they were silent, and they were happy that they are getting their salary or whatever benefits they want to get. So we went ahead with the project, and the project is still running, but investor is unknown that he could have saved that power. Still, if he change those components and modify, he can save a lot of power. Now the second stage is design and engineering. So when project report is done, everything is conceived, perceived, and tagged, and then we go to a designer. Okay, when I say at project planning stage also, we can have a design, engineering, consulting people, but I'm saying design, we go to designer mean we really go on board and we create that design on the paper. So when we are doing this design on the paper, we have some more brainstorming. We must do some brainstorming and we try to improve our design, right? There are ample opportunity available how that we will see later on. Then during project execution also, I have seen many smart contractors. I worked with one company in the past, a German company. When we were executing a project, even a small change to investor we suggested, which was costing him around 2.5% of his entire project, and project was around 2 million euro. But the investor agreed and he invested that money. And I'll tell you, this investor is really happy that he took our advice seriously, and he's really ahead of time vis-a-vis other food processing factory owners. So as a component supplier or as a project execution team, we should always believe in a feedback management, and we should give feedback to consultants, planning people, whether they agree or not agree, and always try to do that feedback documented. Never do verbal things. This is always my advice to all upcoming engineers, young engineers, that never ever do feedback or communication verbally. Yes, we have to do verbal communication, but try to have your ideas to be implemented, make it written, right? Because it will be a good habit, and in future you will be happy that this many projects you have given so many ideas, those could have saved so much energy. Or other way around, you could look back and see that how ignorant I was, that I was thinking I was smarter than a investor or a installer. Yeah, it works both ways. Then come next stage is a maintenance, system health. Yes, this is very important, and most of the people, they ignore it. Even you had a not so good design, not so ideal project execution, but if your maintenance and system health is good, still you can save some money. Yeah. So maintenance, you have to be really focused. You should have best practices. Now those best practices we can discuss later on. For example, when I turned 40, so doctor used to tell me that, you know, you should not do this. These are do's and don'ts. So same way, the way we are maintaining our body, yes, same way we have to maintain our plant. So we should know what are do's and don'ts for a longer life of a plant, and so the plant will continue operating well. And we should not be, you know, on a instead of breakdowns, we should have a preventive maintenance. Now the second last stage is a feedback management. So feedback management of stakeholders, for example, it is a cold store and there are stakeholders from technician to investors to plant engineers to general manager of the plant. So there should be a clear feedback management, preferably not like a logbook. It should be on a computer. I'm sure there are some plants where we don't have literate people, those who can operate the computer. But I'll tell you, I'm really surprised by Indians' capability. Even without going to schools, these operators can operate this WhatsApp. So you can have a platform or an app which can give a feedback management. And I'm sure this will get you a great optimization of energy. And once you do this, you try to create your own best practices. Because same way, every body is different, but there are certain guidelines you have to follow to keep your body fit. So the same way, every plant room has some basic guidelines, but other than that, you have a typical guidelines which you have to develop for that particular plant with different things that will come later on. So for example, this I have already explained that first stage, you optimize the heat load when you are at a planning stage, design engineering stage, because, you know, this also a very strange thing that we as a designer, we put so many safeties. I don't know why we put so many safeties. I think wearing 2 helmets will not save you from death. In fact, it will increase your chances to die. This is what I tell in most of my trainings. So overdoing the things is always not good. Yes, try to do things in a good intention, but don't overdo the things. So for example, overdoing the things can cost you more. Costing more mean more carbon footprint, more inefficiencies. So focus on energy saving by components, that will come later, and accessories. How, if you are existing cold store, so what accessories we can add, that is also one important thing. Now maintenance methodologies, and now there is one more thing. You have a design on paper and design on site. So these are two different things. Yeah. So this is my humble request to all the designers. They should have zero ego with project team. Yes, because project team is actually trying to help you build that project. So sometimes as a designer, we become so egoistic. We don't take their feedback very seriously. But I'll tell you, keep this in mind. Project team feedback is the most important. In fact, designer, project sales, and project execution, these three are very important for design improvement. So we have to be really cautious. The design on the paper and design on the site, it is two different things. Now for maintenance, I have already talked about reduce breakdown with the best practices. Optimize operation. Yes, you have a different loading profile, unloading profile based on your, for example, you are a third party logistics center, so you have a different loading profiles. And then next is regular trainings. Training is the most important aspect of every human being. I train myself because I'm old. I train myself from all my mentors. My youngest mentor is 18-year-old who is a student in a college. Yes. And my oldest mentor is 65-year-old. So I try to ask them questions. I try to tell them if I have a doubt. So you should have regular trainings. And I attend trainings. I watch YouTube videos. I talk to people. I interact with the industry, because I don't keep ego. For me, if I want to ask questions, no question is a stupid question. Yeah. If I'm not asking question, then probably I may be called or considered stupid in future. So always work on trainings and plan ahead. Look how you will be looking yourself 10 years ahead. And feedback management is very important. And this is the last thing, as I said, energy doctor, which I feel every organization, every cold store, there should be an energy doctor who help you to pinpoint how you can make this plant efficient, and we should reward them. Now we talked about two opportunities where we can save energy. One was because we are throwing away a lot of heat in cold stores and food processing factories. Now let's see how we will save this energy. So first thing is, when we go understand what are my main consumer. The main consumers, those who are consuming most of my electric energy, and then we can focus on them better. For example, when I was young, my focus was different, but now I'm old, so breathing is most important for me. My heart condition is most important to me, right? So this is a typical depiction of a plant, meat, chicken, or processing plant with blast freezers, or where we have a high energy load. So this is a in general understanding that how the loads are distributed, and then how we can focus on these loads and save energy. Now you remember we discussed the loads. I have come across the consultants, I have come across the investors, I have come across even the component suppliers, those who can influence the owners, that like when you ask them, sir, you need freezing chamber or you need chilling chamber? So he will say, both, make it both, right? And then you ask him, sir, you want blast freezing? He said, yeah, you put blast freezing also. So we must understand, actually we must try to communicate this to investor, because he is not knowing. I'm sure, as I said, many investors are smart, but most are not aware, because they are not expert of refrigeration. We are expert of refrigeration. You are expert of refrigeration. You as a stakeholder, it is your important responsibility and the duty that you should make him aware that if sun is rising and if sun is more on that side, you should tell him, sir, you want to change your cold store positioning to a way that, you know, transmission load should be reduced, right? So these are small points, and you have to also explain him what is sensible load or latent load, how a room which is 1000 meter cube can have a load of 10 kilowatt if is a packed chilled product, or it can have a 55 kilowatt load if you have a respiratory products into them, and it can have up to 200 kilowatt of load if it is a blast freezer. So this we have to understand, and when we understand this, I'm sure we know this, but somehow we are not able to communicate this to investor. Why? Because we don't realize what is our responsibility. Our responsibility is not to execute project and take our money and go and sleep. Our responsibility is much bigger than that. Our responsibility is towards food security. Our responsibility is towards environment. Yes, our responsibility is about energy saving. Even choice of the compressors, you have to be very wise on choice of the compressors. So it depends on a project how you choose a you cannot say that screw compressor is better or piston compressor is better. Yes, as a designer, as an installer, as a consultant, this you have to evaluate considering different aspects or conditions or ambience, how and what compressor to be used. All compressors and technologies mentioned here, whether it is rotary, whether it is a reciprocating, they are good. But how we use it, as I said in the beginning, yeah, a good compressor can fail if it is not chosen for a right application. Now, this all we know that when we choose compressor, yes, technology is important, refrigerant is important. Yes, you cannot use a refrigerant which is not, if some refrigerant is a cheaper, for example, a refrigerant which is already banned or going to be banned, you should not choose it. And you cannot cheat your investor. Why I use the word cheat? Because investor does not know. Today you create a plant with a particular refrigerant which is going to be banned after 5 years. So what investor will do? He will continue buying that refrigerant and he continues spending a lot of money. And what we are doing? We are not looking at environment. We are not looking at energy wastage. So even a choice of refrigerant can help us to save energy. So try to choose a refrigerant which can give you highest possible coefficient of performance in case of compressor, or maximum energy with the lowest input of electrical energy. I mean maximum refrigeration effect with lowest consumption of electrical energy. Now the pressures, yes, pressure of refrigerant is very important. For example, I have seen some contractors. I'm from Himachal. I have seen a plant where contractor has taken a 40-degree condensing and minus 45 evaporating. It is a single stage screw compressor working for some blast freezer and some freezer plus 40 and minus 27. Now you don't have to do that. You have other options also. You can reduce condensing temperature to 35 or 30 because the place it was installed, the maximum ambient temperature is going 40, right? So, and even dry bulb temperature is going 40 and wet bulb is very less, around 22, 23. Even it goes up to 20 also. So by a good condensing method, we can reduce the compressor size. And remember, even pressure drop in compressors can help you to increase the efficiency. Yes, that you can learn from the compressor manufacturers. And what application? Yes, some application we cannot use particular type of compressors. So we cannot, we have to be very careful. Geographical constraints, yes, you cannot use a compressor which cannot be repaired, serviced to a place where service is not available. Yes. Now condensers having lot of opportunity for energy saving. For example, in evaporative condensers, if you are using a reciprocating compressor, in case of ammonia as a refrigerant, the temperature is going close to 100 degrees Celsius. So when your refrigerant is at 100 degrees Celsius, you have opportunity to use desuperheaters. So what desuperheater? If it is a food processing factory, that desuperheater can help you to generate hot water up to 80 or 90 degrees Celsius. So that is entirely a designer way of designing the system and using the heat energy to help the process industry. Yes. And air cooled condenser, yes, you can use air cooled condensers also. In fact, in cold climates, this is combination of water cooled and air cooled condenser is very good options, because I remember this I have seen in Belgium long back in I think 2005. So there was a plant, they have evaporative condenser as well as air cooled condenser, and that time they were using combination of both because they wanted to save water which is flushed out from the evaporative condenser. Why? Because they have to pay municipality a tax for flushing this dirty water or high salt content water. Yeah, because after 4 5 3 4 cycles you have to flush the water. So combination of air cooled condenser and water cooled condenser is a good option, because nighttime temperature at certain ambient conditions is very low. For example, in deserts, some of the places night temperature is 20 and day temperature is 45. Now even evaporators gives a lot of opportunity to us to save power. For example, some of the like here also we choose a lot of safeties. Yes. And we consider very high pressures for fans. Where we can use propeller fans, we try to use axial fans. Sometimes it is salesman smartness. Salesmen are so smart. They say, "Sir, I'm using axial fan, and this is very good." But you have to really compare fan to fan. So I'm not saying which fan is good and which fan is not good. What I'm trying to say is, as a designer, as a project manager, or as a consultant, or as a project salesperson, we should evaluate honestly that what fan can save power. In fact, fan can save you a lot of power. I will show you in next slide how fan controls, even VFD adding to the fans can save a lot of power. Yes, but we have to study it. Only adding VFD to any motor will not solve the purpose, but we have to see what is our operational parameters. So that is the most important, and this has to be understood by designer and consultant. Now this EC fans, I think they started becoming popular 4 or 5 years back in Europe, and some of the Indian customer which I have worked with, they bought EC fans and they started using this EC fans with their evaporators. So here I have given a typical example. So if you have a 17,000 meter cube per hour fan volume, if you are using a standard AC fan and if you are using EC fan, so your power consumption is approximately around 14 to 18% lower. So imagine how much power you are saving. Normally here you are not doing, you are not using VFD. And good thing about EC fans, what I learned, that you don't have to use VFD also. So EC fan, you can control the speed of the fan, I think 4 to 20 milliamps output. I think controllers and PLC guys, they know it better, that output, how they can, in a control mechanism, they can, with the temperature, they can modulate this fan speed, and they save a lot of power. So EC fans, you save on VFD, you save on power, and at the end, you have an efficient operation. And the payback period will be hardly for a project. If you you do a EC fan, then payback period hardly will be 1 year to 18 months. This is what I learned from my experience. And after 18 months, you started earning money, because these fans, they don't fail until unless you are really having a substandard fans, not for a good manufacturers. Now the next thing is motors. Motors plays important roles, not only from evaporators but compressors. They consume a lot of power. So normally in industry for refrigeration, we are using IE2 motors, right? IE2 motors is efficient motors, but this part of the world we started using even IE4 motors, which is next generation motors. So first IE1, which is standard efficiency, which we get from 2 pole to 12 poles. Yes. So lower the poles, the higher the speed, right? This is the way we talk. So higher the poles, lower the speed. So I have seen some plants in some states, northern India, where some potato storages and some other storages, they're still running lower RPM compressors and lower RPM motors. So my message to them is, they are thinking that they are very smart, but they are not smart for the environment, and they are not smart for the investment they have done, because they have to upgrade their plant and they have to change the motors to a high efficiency motors. And we will learn in next slide how an investment motor can pay you back within year and half. Yes. And finally, these are IE4 motors, which are super premium efficiencies, which for 60 hertz countries, we run screw compressor at 3600 RPM and piston compressors up to maximum, I think, 2000 RPM. Yes. And so motor plays very important role. I don't know IE5 when it is coming, but I'm not aware about it. So you can search, but my knowledge is limited up to IE4 motors. So there are in between IE3 motors also. I think I missed on that. So IE2 and IE3 are used currently. I don't know how I missed it. My apology. So this is eye opener for me. Yes, when I learned this, that a motor, if you see motor cost as an investment, it is not at all cost. Yes. So maintenance cost and purchase cost are bare minimum for a good standard motor, right? But if you see the payback is very fast, because if we are using a better efficiency motor, the payback can be very fast. Yes. If you see that yearly cost, you can have a like on left hand side there is a source EUP. I have taken this 11 kilowatt IE3 motor where 4000 operating hours and 15-year life cycle. They say that cost of buying an electric motor can be deceptive. Okay, somebody will come to you and they say, sir, my motor is 50,000 rupees and other person motor is 70,000 rupees. So why? Because he's giving you lower efficiency motor, which is older technology. So you don't fall in trap. The trap of I call it it is similar to honey trap. It is trap of greed, where you save money but you become penny wise foolish. So as a designer, as a consultant, as an installer, as a student, you must be aware about these important facts. Now on the right hand side, if you see this energy efficiencies of IE3, IE4 and IE1 motors. So efficiency difference is depending upon poles, it varies from 2 to 8%. Yeah, from IE1 to IE4, it varies from 2 to 4-5%. So this much efficiency. Suppose you are having 300 kilowatt motor. So 5% of that is really a big money, because your motor is running say 14 hours a day for 360 days. So which is a good power saving. Now finally we come to isothermal products. which as a refrigeration engineer, contractor, student, or component manufacturers, mechanical component manufacturer, I beg your pardon, we don't pay attention at all. 10 years back, I was also not bothered about what doors we are going to use, what panels we are going to use. Really, I don't bother. I never bothered because I didn't have capacity to think in that directions. Because I'm a mechanical engineer. I think my knowledge I used to think that my knowledge in refrigeration is very good. So if my components are efficient, my refrigeration component and plant design is efficient, then I can make this a good power saving platform for my investors. But I was wrong. I learned with the time, and there are few things which I'm sharing with you. For example, a good dock leveler and dock shelter is very important. And here you do lot of energy saving. Now in a plant room, I'm generating cold effect. But imagine that cold effect is leaked through these panels, which is an insulated box, or through a dock lever, docking doors. Because little leakage is same like you have a scarcity of water and you try to bring that water and there is a leakage on the way. So that leakage is just loss of energy, loss of money, and loss to the environment. So same way, we must try to understand that these doors are very important and most important. And I will show you my calculation based on Indian conditions. How can a door can save money to you? Good doors. Now this is for a standard door which I have done a case study with a European manufacturer. So here we have taken a door of say 900 mm into 2000 mm, which is 0.9 into 2 meter door, and considering Indian condition, per unit cost of electricity is 13 per unit. And this is for a typical freezer store, and considering anti-room temperature at 15 degrees Celsius. So this is just to explain as an example. So power rate can be a little bit higher and lower. That does not. What we are trying to learn, how much investment on a good door can get you money back. So if you say that if there is a 1 mm leakage in a door or a panel, yes, so each day you are losing approximately 760 rupees of energy. So now you think that you are making a lot of money by renting this cold store. You may think that 760 rupees is nothing. Of course you can think that way, but then you have to realize that you have a responsibility towards environment also. India is a country, we have a shortage of power. Your responsibility is that you have to support government. Yes, you have to support initiative of governments, state or center, for saving energy and helping them to maintain grids. So monthly you have 22,000 saving. So when you really calculate this yearly, oh my goodness, this is 3,650 United States dollars. Yes, and I'm sure cost of that good door will not be 3,650. I'm sure you agree with me. I never thought this way, 10 years back. But today, when I do any project, when I'm doing any energy audits, when I'm doing any meeting as a stakeholder with my customers, I bring these important points. And I don't buy any doors. I buy a good door after understanding the technology and after having a detailed evaluation. Now there is a question comes to our mind. As a contractor, you have no say on doors or panels. Of course, you have no say. You cannot tell investor what door you have to buy and what panel you have to buy. But it is your responsibility to send him a nice email or give him a nice advice. Yes, as I said, always make it in writing that how much a good door can make a difference. Yes. So air ingress is very important factor, because your compressor, your cold store, your plant is efficient. Everything is great. But if you are leaking that cold effect, so you are losing a lot. Now you may say that I will use air curtain and I will do this. But of course, using them, they also consume energy. But ultimately, you are not going to save energy if you don't have a good door and good isothermal. Now, this is for a bigger doors, where anteroom is opening at plus 15 degrees Celsius. This case study I have done considering third-party logistics. Normally, third-party logistics in this part of the world, they maintain minus 25 to minus 28 for freezer and 0 to plus 4 for chilled application. So considering anteroom temperature plus 15 degrees Celsius, if I calculate same Indian conditions, I am saving 50,000 rupees a month. And if I see yearly, which is like each 1 mm leakage from a door. Okay. So we are having $7,900 US yearly. I'm sure the door cost is never like that. So this I'm saying, any manufacturer will claim the doors is good, but door efficiency or any refrigeration plant efficiency will actually tested after 3 years and further. First 1 to 3 years, everything runs smooth. But if you really want to assess a good manufacturer, just go to a plant which is running 3 years and older. So this is what my experience is. Now doors, what extra solution you can go with saving energy? Yes, you can go with the high speed doors, which is very important for chilled stores, freezer stores. I have done some installation with my customers. Even they had existing cold stores. And we found out results also. And the payback was really exciting. And my customers were really happy. Because sliding doors, they take a lot of times opening, closing. And then in that case, you can really use high-speed roll-up doors, which can have, velocity of 1.2 meter per second. How fast they move, go up and down. And they don't have manual operations. You can use a radar or you can use remote. And for freezer room applications to my customers, I have really done case studies, which I can share with you personally, not here. And then combination of doors, how they can help you save money. For example, here you can see a sliding door, which was old plant. Then this is picture just to depict a principle or a concept. This is not a photograph of that particular plant which I have done. So I'm just trying to show you the concept. So if you see outside, there is a sliding door, which is manually operated, closed and opened. And then there is a high-speed door. And then further freezer room, which is operating in minus 20 or minus 30, right? Now, if we are using high-speed door in combination with sliding doors, so normally automated or manual sliding door, they take a lot of time opening and closing. And when these operators loading, unloading, they end up wasting a lot of energy. And what we have, longer defrost cycle, damaging of evaporators. In fact, I have visited one of very reputed third-party logistics company next to Chennai, a very reputed manufacturer have designed and installed that cold store. So there lot of ice building was there on the roof. So I asked them, why you are not having efficient doors? So they said, no, sir. this plant is very efficient. That is the reason there is ice formation on the walls. So for me, this was very strange, but I could not say anything because he was just an operator. He was thinking based on his thought process and understanding. So I cannot blame him. He was not trained enough to operate that cold store, right? So for these conditions, because we don't know what are the actual operational conditions, so we can use combination of freezer doors, sliding doors and high-speed doors together. So when forklift is coming in, it will open and close automatically. So by that we save a lot of energy and air ingress. Now the final stage is what is action plan we can do. So first I always say that you have to train people, you have to make them aware. So if you are not aware, for example, 10 years back, I was not aware that how important a door or an insulated panel is. Yes, I'm not saying I was ignorant, but I was not aware in that details what I am today. So today, if you are aware what you have to do, what is your roadmap to energy saving, then you can consider that target in your mind. You can put that target in your agenda. And based on that, you can develop your own action plan, and you have any external auditors which can help you to realize your energy goals with various ways. He may give you solutions, he may give you modification of plant, he may tell you even a few techniques to save energy, or he may train your people for better operation and setting up best practices to operate a food processing or a cold store. So when these people are trained, so they will start working, in line with the design. When I say in line with the design, so design of that particular facility and cold store. So for me, I believe that every facility is different than other facility. Okay. Same way, every body is different than any other body. Of course, there are certain basic things which we have to follow, but operation wise, every cold store or every processing factory in terms of energy saving and refrigeration practices, it's a unique, and we have to set up unique practices to make it energy efficient system. Now, as an energy auditor, when you are calling third party, he will diagnose. For example, we go to doctor, every year we check. When you turn 50, you go there and check your blood pressure, sugar level. So you try to live longer. So similar way, your energy doctor or your auditor will come and he will tell you how you can optimize. For example, I have seen freezers which are stored with a material of -20, but their set points are such that they are consuming more power. So that is also one of the important consideration, that set point optimization, how you are doing it. So some expert can only tell you, right? So you should not forget that I have set up a cold store. And now energy analysis, yes, this I already explained. Justification of operational expenses. For example, you want to change certain components, you want to change fan from AC to EC. So that also you can calculate, and you can always opt for a better justification to replace the. And load profiling, yes, it is important. And operation, which is a very casual thing, which you have to do as per your choice, like safety always first, maintenance guideline you must have, operational guidelines, data management. For example, how monthly your cold store is operational, opening and closing time, how much air ingress, all these data can be collected monthly, weekly, yearly basis. And then you can improve on the basis of data. And trainings for not only for operators, in fact, management trainings, those who have no clue about cold store, they should also be trained, and they should also be made important stakeholders, because responsibility is to save energy. And then we should give rewards to whoever is helping us to save. Now this is, we reach to a target where we say that our target is optimum energy efficiencies. I say equipment, what are the main things we have to look at it? equipment, operation, control, and the most important thing is to use above 3 is a common sense, right? So engineers, common sense is most important. So focus on energy, how we can improve. We must secure a better future for all the stakeholders by using technology, systems, operations, and the most important is common sense to create efficient temperature management. Now I think it is 1 hour 6 minutes. I am concluding this presentation, and this is, I believe this is the final slide. In conclusion, we understand that we are energy because what we eat is energy. When what we eat reaches to us is invested with lot of energy. So if we really understand this ring of energy with respect to cold chain, we will understand that how and what steps we can use to save energy. So efficient cold chain means lower energy wastage. So lower energy wastage gets you a lot of rewards. One is high profitability, lot of money saving, and lower energy mean lesser carbon footprint. So you are taking care of environment also. So with that, I conclude my presentation and hand over to the moderator or Zoom master.
Sure. Thank you very much, Arun Bhatia ji. That was a wonderful, wonderful presentation. When I saw your topic and I said in cold chain, this is the ring of food and energy. Today, actually, 2 more things have got into that ring, and that is money through your profits. And second, most importantly, our responsibility to the society, to the government, and to our future generations through this energy efficiency and sustainability in refrigeration. Extremely, extremely good. I hope all the participants over here have really enjoyed this. Can I request some of the really, we have from all our various associations like RATA, from the ISHRE HQ, from ASHRE, we have representatives. Can I request them to just say a few words about how they felt about this program today? So can I request Parasji from RATA to just say a few words, please?
Akash, Parasji had to leave, unfortunately. I mean, he was in office and he had to shut down because of our law right now of leaving early. So on behalf of RATA, I'm Mihir Sanghvi, I'm secretary. I also wear hat of immediate past president of ISHRE and incoming president of ASHRE. On behalf of all the 3 associations, I really thank Arunji for lovely presentation and the various tips what he has given. I'm very sure it will take cold chain to the higher level. Special kudos to you and PAS for organizing a brilliant program. Keep it up. Simply amazing, and I'm very sure I mean many more such programs will come for the refrigeration members. I think this is one aspect which you have taken care of, and please keep it up further. Thank you.
Thank you, Mihir bhai. Can I also request Amod Dikshit ji, who's the president-elect for ISHRE Mumbai chapter, to say a few words?
Yeah, hi. Thank you so much. Thank you very much. It was an excellent session. We enjoyed it, and it's been really a good learning. Food chain, a different subject altogether. I think Akash, the subject what you said, you chose the right one and the perfect speaker for it. I think that is very, very well selected. So thank you, Bhatia Sahab. Thank you, Akash, and thank you, Parth, and thank all the committees who worked so hard last 2 days for the programs of the last 2 days. So on behalf of ISHRE, ASHRE, and RATA, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Parth, can I request you? You have brought Arun Bhatia ji to this platform to please give him your personal vote of thanks.
Sir, thank you. Thanks a lot for honoring our request and coming down to Mumbai all the way today.
No, you are actually energy warrior. You are the young generation. Yeah. You will set up the practices, and thank you for inviting me. I should be thankful to young warriors like you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. So, there are so many comments we are receiving in the chat section that this is probably the best seminar on this topic that I have heard till date. And, some of the very basic concepts were explained in the best possible way ever. And thanks to you for doing that for us. On occasion of World Refrigeration Day, I don't think it was any better to delve into the basics and explain right everything from farm up to the logistics and up to setting up the entire engineering chain. And I would like to really thank you a lot. And I have a few questions which have come up from the attendees today.
I will try my best.
Okay.
Please.
Mr. Lokesh is asking, is there any thumb rule for the heat load as per room size for blast freezers, as we readily decide the load for some walk-in rooms? So I am sure, sir, this is a difficult question for you. But
No. I love because I missed the name from Mr.
Lokesh.
Lokesh. Lokesh, I think Lokesh is because when I was young, I'm still young, you know, but when I was very young, so I used to also think that everything should be on tips. But when I started working with Germans, so I used to ask them, what is thumb rule? So he said, no thumb rule. So what I'm trying to say is, it is better we should not have thumb rules, neither for our health, nor for our plant health. Yes. So thumb rules, you should try to erase from your memory, like we do it in computer, control alt delete. So no thumb rule is a rule. Thumb rules were like, last generation, because that time the information was not available. Now you want to know anything, you just go to Google Uncle and you can find it out. So don't follow any thumb rules. Try to have a mentor in an industry, right? Try to have a ustad in an industry with whom you can discuss everything. Like who's your, like a husband-wife, like my relation with my mentor is like husband-wife. So I share everything, what doubts come into me, because sometimes I may be shy sharing with 50 people. So try to have a mentor, share your idea with him, and then he will share with, it is like communication going and coming. Yeah. So no thumb rules at the end, I'll say.
Especially, sir, blast freezer being such a complicated topic, it's better if we avoid the thumb rule.
Yes. Yeah.
So one more question. Why is vapor absorption system not widely used in marine applications for generation of ice? Using waste heat for operating vapor absorption, we can save energy, store fresh marine food, and its refrigerants are also environmental friendly. This question is by Mr. J. Siddharth Yadav.
Mr. Yadav. Mr. Yadav, I have not much knowledge about vapor absorption system to an extent, because I most of my life work in vapor compression only. But vapor absorption, I know there are few innovations in India, like they are doing, some of my friends in northern India, they invented a smaller cold room which work with a husk. And but marine application, I never heard of vapor absorption system. Of course, there is a lot of heat available, but as I understand, vapor absorption systems are normally bulky and huge. So that may be a challenge, but I'm not an expert to comment on that. Thank you, Mr. Yadav.
Yeah, we have one question from Mr. Adnan Sheikh. He says, can you please highlight the future challenges in the cold chain system which need to be addressed as soon as possible?
See, the future challenge, I am sure there is government will come to you with energy saving duty. For example, in Dubai or United Arab Emirates, government is giving subsidies if you are installing the panels on the roof. Because if energy from the sun can be utilized with the energy from the grid, that is also one of the opportunity. This is one. And also the regular energy audits, which you have to do. Because we as a investor, we are only focusing on profits. We are not focusing on environment. So another challenge will come as an environment in future. You know, if you go back 20 years back, R22 was a great refrigerant, high efficiency. But now, no country accept it. So these are the challenges. You have to work with a refrigerant which are eco-friendly. Yes. And you have to really use efficient and organized systems. For example, we buy a door which is say 20,000, but I use this informal term guy. Other manufacturer is giving you 50,000 rupees a door. So you say, why should I spend a double? But you have to really understand that your payback is only 3 months in that case. So challenge is to understand your inefficiencies, environment, and don't focus on project cost.
Sir, I really thank you for this last point that you highlighted, that don't focus on project cost.
Yeah, this is like you are marrying a girl, seeing her photograph. Yes.
Yeah.
This is what the example I give.
Yes.
Yeah. So this is, you are taking a chance.
Yes. So
buying brochures, component through brochure, the same way.
So I think one last question from Mr. Govind Nair, after which I have one question from my end.
Okay,
for
no
you.
problem.
So Mr. Govind Nair asking, how efficient is renewable energy cold rooms and which refrigerant works best in this sector?
See, refrigerant normally for cold store and third party logistics and bigger cold stores, ammonia is a best refrigerant going forward, and it is a natural refrigerant, and ammonia CO2 cascade systems becoming popular. So now Mr. Govind, right?
Yeah.
Yes. So all refrigerant have certain properties that you have to analyze. So that I will not recommend that, depending upon your project size. And now coming back to alternate energies, right? For example, windmill or these are now becoming popular, because if you go 10 years back, the payback period of these panels, the solar panels was 10 years. But now good manufacturer of panels, yes, don't go to the neighbors, our neighbors, but a good manufacturers of our panels can give you payback up to 4 or 5 years also. Yes, and I have seen that in projects installed in United Arab Emirates. People giving you guarantee money bond that if you will not get payback in 5 years, this much money will be forfeited. So this is the bank guarantee they are giving. Yes, and as an energy supplier, the stakeholder in Dubai, they are really putting up big efforts. So it is coming back to question. It is a designer's prerogative whether he would like to use a windmill or he would like to use solar panel. So if there is no sun, you cannot use. Yes. For example, I given an example of de-superheater in piston compressors. So you can really save or utilize energy by hot water. But if it becomes so impractical, that what you will do with the hot water, so you cannot use that energy. So as a designer, you have to evaluate. You have to understand what is the project conditions, so you can have best practices. Hope I am able to answer the question. Otherwise, you can email me. I will try to explain.
Yeah, sir. I think all the questions from the audience are done with now. One question from my end.
Please.
As you rightly termed us, the young generation, as the energy warriors, I wanted to ask you a few very basic questions, that whenever we as industry, pitch to our customers, or whenever we as an industry want to undertake a project, how do we pitch, something that is, like you said, double in cost, and but the return on investment is very good? How do we exactly go about pitching it? Because not every customer is willing to understand, and there are so many people who still go at face value and still go at project cost. So this is something that needs to be changed, and as an industry, I think the awareness that we need to spread is we need to focus on OPEX and not CAPEX, as you rightly said. So how can we bring about this change? Do you think any incentive to the customer will work, or something, cooling as a service or something, whatever you can?
See, I'll tell you, this is interesting question. I think you asked me the crux of the industry, or rather juice of the orange. Yes. So nothing else left.
Yeah.
But okay, what I've been when I was selling projects, so like bare land comes to you and you have to ask customer what you want. So you do the everything and then you quote a project to customer. So I had a German boss. So I used to ask him that this person will not buy because it is very costly. So he used to tell me that we are not here to sell to everyone. Okay. And I was very new to this part of the world, and for me everything should be sold, right? This is what it should be in my mind. So he said, we are not here to sell project to everyone, right? We are only going to sell to smart people, those who understand us. So what it went further. So later on, we wanted to give them two options. Two options, for example, one is the cheapest option and another is a costliest option with a payback period of, for example, when he's spending 2 million euro, yeah, and we are giving him a 1.8 million euro and 1.2 million euro project. So it is say 10% cost difference. But that 10% we used to give him on a paper that this payback will be done in 18 months as per our calculation. And if we go further, it will be done in 24 months. So in some projects, we were so confident that we have given them 24-month warranty also based on that, right? And once this customer had the project done with us, then he is like a model for us, advertising our project. So as a engineer, designer, or as a salesperson or a young energy warrior, you must have this thought process in your mind, like what energy you will invest in your offer, because young engineers are also a little bit lazy, which I felt, yes, because they want to do everything very fast, softwares. Yeah, this is also one of the change which is sometime make me feel little worried. So everything is not software. So you have to understand that you make a nice sheet to your customer, explain him this or this, right? So it is, at the end, it is his choice. Today, if you are a sugar patient and you don't stop eating, rasgullas and all, so nobody can save you from that. So investors are very smart. See, 8 out of 10 investors will understand you, and those 3 out of 8 investors will buy from you first time, and second time the number will go on increasing. This is what my experience is.
Okay.
So, but you should feel that you are best. You are giving him best solution because actually you are giving him a best solution, right? You are not cheating him. Yeah.
Yes, sir. I think it was an amazing interactive session with you, sir. And we thank you once again for gracing us with your presence and with your speech.
Anytime.
Yes, sir. Akash, you want to add in anything?
Yeah, thanks, Parth. The questions were really good because it made Arunji say, put so much more value to his presentation. And normally that's what question answer sessions do. But I want to bring to your notice, Arunji, that this today's esteemed, participants have been from the age of 19 to 90. So you've had the Ustads also who are over here, like, Mr. Surendra Shah was over here. My dad, Mr. Verma, he's 80. He was over here listening to you.
I'm so lucky.
And then you have some esteemed people, who are consultants, the contractors, the suppliers. So you have Anil Gulanikar ji, you have Partha Sarthi, Mr. Govind Nair, Harshal. These are all good contractors over here. You have Pankaj Choraria. You had
I'm glad.
Dr. Milind Rane from IIT. He was here. So Mr. Shankar Deshpande, Sunil Gautam. So they are all people who have been part of the cold chain, and they can really, I would say, if on World Refrigeration Day, there is one pledge I would like all of them to take together, is that being part of the ecosystem, whether you are a supplier, whether you are an installer, whether you are a consultant, or whether you are an end user at the end of the day, let us build, design, and supply those products which are leading to energy efficiency in the cold chain.
Wonderful.
I think that is the way I could ask them for a pledge. A couple of things I would like to tell all the participants. One is that we have a Facebook page. The Facebook page, you can go and like it. It is ISHRE Mumbai. You can also go to our Instagram page, because all youngsters today want to be on Instagram. Please go there. ISHRE Mumbai again. Go and follow it. Get to know what's happening. Do this immediately. Another good news is you can become an ISHRE Mumbai member, ISHRE member now. And till 30th June, you have a refrigeration handbook worth 900 rupees, which is coming to you free of cost. So,
Wow.
so that's like a brilliant offer.
Awesome. Awesome.
Sanjay Kumar Verma ji has come. He's the membership chair. And Sanjay Kumar ji, please.
Hi, good evening,
yes, how fast
Arunji.
can we become a member?
And it was very informative session, and we all have enjoyed. And on the refrigeration day, ISHRE is having the fullest offer for person who is becoming member for ISHRE.
Wow.
They can download e-books from the ISHRE website of approximately 900 rupees. That is free of cost till 30th June. Apart from, I urge all the members to become the ISHRE member, regular member. They will get a lot of advantages over that. The member gets full access of ISHRE websites and the ISHRE knowledge bank. They will get a lot of learnings, advantages for skill development. It includes HVAC dictionary and a lot of case studies. YouTube also has been kept on our ISHRE website. So they get all the access free of cost. Apart from that, if you become the member, you will get bi-monthly ISHRE magazines as well as refrigeration magazine also free of cost bi-monthly to your correspondence address. Special discounts on ISHRE publications. And apart from that, you get a lot of invitations for all the programs, conference halls, seminars, workshops, expos on your email IDs. You get a lot of opportunity for networking with HVAC and our fraternity. Even you, the member gets internal exposure throughout the international associates. Many more. So I request everyone to become, whoever is not the member, to become the member for ISHRE and get the opportunity to take the 900 rupees special offer to download ebooks from ISHRE website and become the member till 30th of June. You will get this opportunity. Thank you so much from my side. Thank you, Akash.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sanjay ji. Last but not least, I would like to thank the entire ISHRE Mumbai team that is over here today. And the back end, Vanna, Dipali, Saloni, thank you very much for your help in the beginning. Jayan ji, our program chair. And last but not least, Parth. Thank you very much for bringing Arunji over here. It was a wonderful, wonderful show. Arunji, we look forward to associating with you the entire 2020. And we are happy
we
that
have
we could.
Participants from Dubai also.
And he himself is from Dubai, sir. So that's the reason I'm saying कि आज इन्होंने हमारे इतने पैसे बचा लिए हैं because we could have a webinar instead of bringing him here physically. But we look forward to celebrating with you again, Arun.
Akash, can I have a group photo? Can we have a group photo?
Nasir bhai, we cannot forget you for your group photo and your contribution. Arun sir,
Requesting everyone to please.
thank you very much. If you are there, please join.
ISHRE Naman to everyone.
ISHRE Naman.
Thank you.
ISHRE Naman to everyone.
Thank you. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Good night. God bless. And
Thank you.
stay
Bye-bye.
safe.
Bye-bye.
Take care. Thank you very much. Good night.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Arunji. Bye-bye.
Thank you.